guys doing? Good, good, good. Good to be here. What an honor. Could you guys just 1 second join me in standing and giving a standing ovation to Shelley and Women's Ignite and everyone who's responsible for putting this on. Fantastic. What a great thing. What a great city. Love Boise. I'm so excited to be here to talk to everyone about living in the moment. Living in the moment, living in the now, and enabling joy and turning on grit and enabling yourself to commit and take massive action on your goals. And all that is found through the focus on right now and what we're doing in each moment. Before I do, I'd like to do something kind of fun, something that you maybe, actually I'd be willing to bet that nobody has done this at a conference before. You guys want to do something fun? Yeah. Oh, come on. You guys want to do something fun? All right, okay, here we go. Now we're on the honor system because I'm not going to be able to see you. Everybody take your cell phone out. Take your phone out. Okay, now if you're an Apple drone like I am, then on the side of this thing, there's this power button. And I can't help the Android people out there. I used to be one. But on this guy, I hold it down, and then I swipe right to turn it off. Everybody turn it off? We got cameras now, so if you didn't do it, you want to see something even better? Yeah, who needs it? Who needs it? As Lisa mentioned, so honored. Last week we were down in San Antonio, Texas at the Inc. 5000 conference, which is visionary entrepreneurs, some of the fastest, 5,000 fastest growing companies in the private sector in the country, and heard from some fantastic speakers, as CEO of Panera Bread, or former CEO of Panera Bread, I should say, a CEO of Life is Good, Kendra Scott, just absolutely dynamic female entrepreneur, growing a huge, huge business and a big vision. A ton of female entrepreneurs that were amazingly inspirational. One of the key takeaways I wanted to share with everyone was they all talked about long term. They all talked about a long-term perspective. They talked about not sacrificing, right, the long-term vision for the short-term gain. Every single one of them talked about how long they worked, how hard they worked to become successful, how long they grounded out, and just what a long effort it was for them to get to where they are. None of them talked about short-term. None of them talked about instant gratification. And yet, so the sort of patrons of our time, the leaders of our time, the dynamic people that are out there making a difference are saying the exact opposite message from the rest of the world. Because we live in an era of instant gratification and swipe right or swipe left, and it's disposable and one size fits all, and that's the culture that we live in. Guys, we all know this, right? But it's a lie. It is an absolute lie that you can find joy or achievement or get through really difficult times if you're obsessed with just short-term results. You don't care about the long term. You just want instant gratification. The first thing I just mentioned was joy. Hey, what is joy? It's not happiness. A lot of people get the two confused. Matthew McConaughey's got this great video out on YouTube. I suggest you guys check it out where he talks about it. But happiness is attached to an outcome, a specific outcome. And it's not achievable or sustainable because as soon as you hit the outcome, then what do? You move the benchmark to the next one. Like the next raise, the next job, the next family trip, the next vacation, the next whatever it is in your life. Next accomplishment. And then you get there, and then what happens? Well, I'm not real happy. I guess I got to move it again. And you just keep moving it and moving it and moving it and moving it. So there's no joy there. There's no fulfillment there. It's just a quick shot on the arm. It's like motivation. Motivation is garbage. Absolutely. Right? It's about being inspired and living in the moment and finding some sort of a joy and fulfillment in what you do. So speaking of joy, one of the things that I've always come back to in my life to know that something is true, to know that it's true that the joy is in the journey and the journey is now, to know that it's true that the only way that I can find fulfillment is to enjoy the present moment. I've looked throughout different eras and history and walks of life to see if is it true there. Because as you guys know, if something is true in one walk of life or in one era or in one society, it's true everywhere. And joy and living in the moment are intertwined. And it's across the painting of our lives all across humanity, from samurai warriors like Musashi to Chinese philosophers like Lao Tzu to the modern day designer sitting in her shop humming while she creates beautiful new things for people to wear because she enjoys the process, to the chef that hums while he cooks and bakes, It's not about the end product. It's about what he's doing in the moment. And you'll see that again and again and again in all walks of life. And that's, for me at least, how I know that it's true, how I know that it's a real concept that I should latch onto. How did I learn this? Well, like most thick-headed, slow-witted men, I like to stick close to the traditions of my sex and learn it the hard way. Sure, why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I have to learn it the hard way? So 10 years ago, I'll take you back. It's almost exactly 10 years, actually. It's very interesting I'm speaking about this today. I was sitting, it was like this, on the front step of my apartment down by Boise State off Belmont Street. It was after my senior year. It was the summer after my senior year of college. And it was 2 weeks after the NFL draft had concluded, and my phone hadn't rang, which is something that I had been wanting and working towards since I was 6, 7 years old. It's something that was a dream that I used to talk to my father about when I was younger than that I always wanted to do. In fact, when I was a kid, I remember vividly the first couple of years you have to play soccer before you're old enough to play flag football, and I hated it because I wanted to be out there hitting people, right? So I can't tell you in the limited time today the sacrifices that I went through to make my dream a reality and what I gave up physically and mentally and emotionally and spiritually. But I made the mistake I was just talking about. I tied my happiness, and what's even worse, I tied myself and my self-worth to an outcome, right? Quid pro quo, I'm either going to achieve this or I'm a loser. I went out on the skinniest, tallest branch I could find, and 15 years into it, it snapped, and I fell. And I was absolutely crushed. I remember sitting there on that hot summer day. I just got done training. I was training twice a day, hopeful that my phone would ring as the weeks drag on and they didn't. And something really, really deep inside me broke. And my dream was over. My dream was over, but the nightmare was just beginning. Because for the next 5 years of my life, it was nothing but guilt and shame and hate and reoccurring nightmares and waking up screaming in the middle of the night. Because everything that I had ever wanted, and indeed the person that I was gone. But through that, I did learn a few things that were beneficial. There was still a glimmer of hope and still something that I latched onto, and not all was lost. Because I learned something about grit in the years that I was working towards my dream. I learned something very, very, very key. You can do anything one more time. I actually learned this lesson when I was really young, because me and my parents used to take us up on these backpacking trips. They were just epic, up to the Sawtooths. And what great memories that I had. And I was the kid that if you made me walk in the back, I was screaming. Like, I hated it. I was 5, 6 years old. I want to walk in the front. I want to walk in the front. I'm crying. And then so my dad would finally get sick of me yelling and put me up in the front. And then he would walk on my heels as close as he possibly could until I got sick of it and fed up and then started screaming at him for walking so close to me. But I learned something in those years that I've taken with me that has built, which is if you focus on how far you have to go, and that's all you think about, you just get destroyed when you're in something difficult in life. The only way to make it through really difficult things is to put the blinders on and focus on the next step and the next step and the next step. Because I can't climb a 5,000-foot mountain in 5 minutes, but I can take 25 steps and 25 more and 25 more. And I learned that. It was my Bible all the way through athletics. And I was a really severe asthmatic when I was a kid. I had some other difficulties that I had to overcome, but asthma specifically, when you're having an asthma attack and you can't breathe, what are you thinking about? Taking that next breath. That's it. That's all you're thinking about. So when I was a kid and I was out there running with my teammates on the athletic fields, it was tough. It was really tough. And the only way I got through it was I was just focused on the next sprint, the next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. I don't know what they were thinking about, but I was ready to die. So I was just thinking about the next one. And I carried that through. I carried it through playing my senior year at Eagle High School with a broken collarbone, which I didn't figure out until after, when I had an MRI done about 6 months later, and they said, the reason why your shoulder your collarbone is touching your AC joint is because you broke it sometime in the last year. And I learned that in getting through concussions and torn muscles and torn ligaments and broken feet and all sorts of wonderful things that come along with playing that level of football, right? So I learned a valuable lesson that I've been able to carry with me out through my life, and it's the only thing that got me through the dark, dark hours. I couldn't think about or even imagine a life where I wasn't doing what I was crafted to do. How could I still be here? It was like a nightmare that I couldn't wake up from. I still, to this day, more than 10 years later, sometimes look around and it feels like it must be a dream. It must be a dream that didn't happen. So the only way that I could get through it and build and grow and get to the point where I could even think about having a new dream, one day at a time. One day at a time. That's it. That's all I got focused on. And one day turns into a week, which turns into a month, which turns into a year, which takes away the sting of some of that pain, and pretty soon you're building on something. So grit, just like joy, comes down to the moment, the now, the here, focusing on the now, getting through the difficult things you're going through and not necessarily worrying about how bad it is in the long run. It's just so, so, so important. I was able to take that from athletics and certainly use it in the business world. You know, a couple years ago, I went through this really, really nasty breakup with a business partner. I had become partners with the wrong people. And I went through an 18-month lawsuit and a bunch of betrayals and slander and defamation and sleepless nights. And it went on for a lot longer than I wish that it would have. But for me, with everything else that I had been through, I had tools, right? I understood, get through another week, get through another week, get through another week. Similarly, in going and getting a master's degree online from Georgetown, which I'm so, so proud of in real estate, that was crushing. I mean, the workload with everything else that I had going on, kind of a glutton for punishment. I always tell people, you know, if you knew how hard something was going to be before you started, none of us would ever start. And that was certainly true for me in getting my graduate degree. But you know, every Thursday and every Sunday for 2 years until midnight, I was frantically working on getting my deliverables in and spending about 15 hours a week is what I averaged on the program. And that got so bad, and I had so much stress when I was doing that, and I had this lawsuit going on. I lost 2 business partners as a result of the lawsuit and everything that happened with that. I got so stressed and it was so hard that I literally, it came down to make it to Thursday. Make it to Thursday and then make it to Sunday night at midnight. And then make it to Thursday at midnight and make it to Sunday night at midnight. That was all I was thinking about. And the second I let my brain go beyond that to how much I still had in front of me, I couldn't function. I would just shut down. So this concept of grit and focusing on what's right in front of you will help you guys tremendously to get through difficult times. The third thing, we talked about joy, we talked about grit, action, like the foundation for getting everything done. Achievers are dreamers, yes, but even more importantly, they take action. So often, and I've found myself guilty of this so many times, we talk ourselves and think ourselves out of what we want. How many of you have done this before? How many of you have ever talked yourself out of what you want? Everybody's done it, whether you know it or not. Because your soul, your heart, your gut, they know what to do. They know what you want. It knows how to put you on the path that you need to be on. But what do? We talk ourselves out of it. Whether it's from fear or rationalization or what society tells us to do or our family tells us to do, we talk ourselves out of it. And if you're ever doubting this theory, just think about this. The next time you get out of bed in the morning and you know that you have to do some exercise, most of us probably do that a time or two, what happens the longer you lay there and think about it? Nothing, right? Because you talk yourself out of it. Well, I didn't get very much sleep last night. I didn't eat very good the last couple days. I drank a little bit too much. I got this meeting coming up today. I don't want to be tired from my meeting. That won't be good. Plus, there's always tomorrow, and that's the best day to start anything. So after about 7.5 minutes of this, shit, I'm going back to sleep. I'm done. Right? We talk ourselves out of it. And you knew that you wanted it. It was so clear the night before. So clear. And then you get up in the morning and all of a sudden it's not. Action. Right now. That's where you find it. Don't think about it, just do it. One of my favorite quotes ever, favorite concepts ever in life is from Steve Jobs. And it was when he said, everything changes for you in life the moment you realize that everything that we call life was created by people who are no smarter than you. And you can change it, and you can mold it, and you can tweak it, and you can make your own things that other people can use, and your own inventions, and your own creativity. What power in that thought that we can implement change if we're bold enough to take action. Every single day, you are getting closer to or further away from your dreams. This is what I'm going to leave you with. There is no neutral in nature. There is no equilibrium. And you saw that in one of the presentations earlier, right? Things change. Things go through these inflection points, and they change. The same is true with your goals, with your dreams. You're getting closer to them or further away from them every day. Make no mistake about that. There is no just flat line. Get better today. Get closer today. Do not let another sun set. Do not walk out of here and let another day end without taking some sort of step, some sort of movement forward, and some sort of action on your dreams. Thank you guys very much for your time. Having a good conference. I'll see you.